This is Natural Time with Lisa Starr, and today on the Zolkin count is called Red Solar Skywalker, and it is the 9th day of the Red Serpent Wave Spell. And if you're a new person to Natural Time, which I think the videos here should be, a little more beginner intro level. That makes sense to me. So I'm going to curb some of my most exotic ideas and bring things back to first stages of learning about the calendar. So to very plainly reiterate, we keep moving through 13-day cycles that are called wave spells. The Zolkin calendar, which is exclusively what I talk about here, is 260 days long, and there are 20 13-day wave spells within it. And each wave spell is oriented to a particular Mayan totem, symbol, element from their ancient culture that was most meaningful to them. And they call these tribes, or we do. We refer them as tribes. So currently we are in the Red Serpent Wave Spell, and we are honoring and experiencing in depth the Red Serpent tribe. And the 260 days Zolkin is representing gestation in the womb. It's very similar to 9 months, and 9 months is basically representing the last menstrual period a woman has, not conception. So when they say that it's 9 months, it's 9 months dating back to your last period, whereas conception happens during ovulation, which is usually 10 to 14 days after you have your period. So it's perfect. 270 days approximately is gestation in the womb at 9 months, but 260 days, which is the length of the Zolkin, is even more accurate. So we don't really have to think too much about the 260 days, except clearly the Zolkin calendar is different than a Gregorian year-long solar calendar. A solar calendar is measuring the Earth's ellipsis around the sun. It takes 365 and a quarter days for the Earth to move around the sun in that way in its orbit. And there is a whole new gestalt and wildness, and it's innovative and groundbreaking to our minds, and exciting and meaningful to follow the Zolkin calendar, because it shifts our attention from time being in sync with the Gregorian idea of it, which is uneven month lengths. So that's not really a rhythmic calendar count or very harmonious if the months are different lengths long, and it takes you half your life to be sure that you know which one has 30 days or 31 or 28, which is kind of a relief in February. When we shift out of thinking about the Gregorian calendar, we get to let go of a lot of artificiality and bureaucracy, and we switch to also contemplating time in a more indigenous and natural, hence the name, and spiritual way. And I like it maybe most because I feel it's a discipline for spirituality, that if I am concentrating on each day's passing descriptive astrology or the tribe of the day and other aspects of it through the Zolkin teaching, through how the Zolkin explains time, then I've kind of got a reverie for my day that is always revolving me back toward A, having a reverie at all, and B, towards connection to the Maya, who mostly live in an ascended way in the sky. So they're kind of like angels. You can tap into their frequency. And it just helps because I have a crazy monkey mind that is over analytical. And so if I'm just sort of more spinning out, analyzing magical and mystical ideas, I feel like that is already harm reduction, as they say, where I'm not thinking only about consumerism and addiction and codependency. I mean, all the things that fall into those categories. So that said, I'll talk to you about the red serpent wave spell that we're on the 9th day of today. Today is the second to last day of the real push of the red serpent tribe's potency. So wave spells are always wave shaped, and the way I want to just say it most easily or cleanly is that for the first 10 days the wave is climbing toward the sky, and then on the 11th day it's falling back to earth. On the 12th day it's settling from having had that big explosive wave breaking fall, and then on the 13th and final day things are just getting very still, the way you sometimes see in the ocean when waves break and then there's all this like glassy smooth inactivity, which is almost like foreboding or anticipation. When will it be back? So the first 10 days are this slow, steady, and then increasingly accelerated climb, just like a wave that we see again in the ocean. It's just like there's something going on under the water, and then it pushes to become this sort of mountainous water, a climbing mountain of water, and then it can't push any farther. That's when the wave breaks, when it can't get any higher because of gravity and its limited force against the gravitational field. So I talk about that over and over because I think it's what we're living when we follow the wave spells themselves. We are living in slow, turgid beginnings of cycles where we feel like we might be underwater, in more darkness, kind of trying to find our way to the light, being pushed to the light, but not necessarily having our bearings, enduring that. And then this moment that is like a breakthrough, when we can, see light, we're at the surface of the ocean, and then we're kind of set free. It's not like water pushing through water. We all know that it's harder to walk through water than air. So same with a wave. It's the current or the seismic force that starts a wave forming, this disrupted water that needs to erupt somewhere. It has an easier time when it is actually not underwater. And so then the wave gets faster and steeper, and our experience of life, I think, also increases in velocity, and there's this power surge behind our learning and growth. And then again, we plateau because we can't go any higher, and we feel the limitation. I am not able to go any higher. This sucks, because going higher, just as the metaphor reaches toward drug use, getting high is a goal for a lot of us in our different ways. It doesn't have to be hard drugs. It could be caffeine, it could be sugar, it could be endorphin rushes from exercising, but like getting high means higher vibration, and we want to climb our way right up to the sun, maybe not to self-immolate, but we want that enlightenment and that glow, that like abundance of peace, warmth, joy, all these different descriptors for sunlight. And we're not going to do that right now. That's sort of how the wave and its surge ends, is like, that's enough for now, but you are living on Earth. You're a sentient human being. You're not going to join with the sun and be light. You're going to stay here where there are shadows cast by the sun. You create shadows with your own body here on Earth. So we have this karma, fate of being shadow and light while we are incarnated. And so we are turned back to Earth to face another round of sort of grappling with our condition, but also just humans being, until the next wave starts to allow us to climb again. And that's what we do here. That's the full-scale cycle of the Tzolk'in calendar. And I love it. And sometimes I loathe it. I wouldn't say I ever hate this calendar or anything it's brought me, but I do experience it as an endurance test. And as an ex-athlete, I suppose I'm like conditioned to think that challenge is a way to get better, faster, and stronger. And so in my human experience, I can accept some of the loathsome exercises that really push me to my limits, that stretch me. I'm not looking for the easy way. In fact, I think the easy way, probably innately in my like cave woman, Amazonian, ancient origins, I think the easy way is for people that aren't really engaging with life. I think I have that conditioning. So here we're really engaging with life, and we are growing all the time. And it isn't the kind of growth that puts us past other people. It's just the kind of growth that makes us deeper in our own resonance. So it isn't about outdistancing others who don't follow the calendar. It's about, I think, trying to live in a very alive state where we grapple with the human condition, which is full of, I think, karmic reckoning right now. So as we grapple, we find stability within the cycles of the calendar, and we also engage with the grappling rather than avoid it and try to numb ourselves or bury our heads. So that's what I think is happening here in Calendarland with me. And so I think this has been an important intro, long one. This really just speaks, I guess, to why I keep wanting to show up and share the information, and why I personally am on the journey. And it also explains to myself aloud why my life of engagement and watchfulness and listening and panicking against the cycles of the Zolkin is sort of the only one for me, and I can't disengage. I've been doing this for 25 years. My daughter was under a year old when I started, and she'll be turning 26 in the Gregorian month of November. So it has been a long time and a rewarding time and a constancy that I've never given up in 25 years. So I always wish that for people who really love this. It's just like, well, you don't ever stop, you don't miss a day, and it's not because you're drilling yourself, but because that's how you wake. What is today? Like sometimes I'll forget until midday, rarely, but often what happens when I'm making plans for the day, I have a certain amount of freedom, I guess, in my life where I can choose some of my activities. I'll just be like checking, like, I mean, is that promising or a little dangerous on a day like today? So today is called Red Solar Skywalker, and it is the 9th day, as I said, of the Red Serpent Wave Spell. And the Red Serpent Wave Spell is infamous for having portal days, many, 10 in a row. We are on the 8th day. We have tomorrow and then one more finally. So we've had 7 days, a whole week of being in every day being a portal. Again, this only happens twice in the Zolkin, and this is the first time it's happened in like 200 days. So it's been a long time since we've had 10 portals in a row. And the Red Serpent Wave Spell is just, known for having this. So just as much as in the Red Serpent time, we're exploring the Red Serpent tribe and what it means, we're kind of in the thrill, like the roller coaster ride of each day being an opening of awareness and maybe an evolution where we break through things that have restrained us. I mean, it's kind of a curiosity. Each one is having an individual experience. I have found portals or no that the last couple of wave spells really set me up to have an ego death and to not be able to avoid my own evolution of consciousness, meaning I hit a wall really hard and I got smashed up, and then, I'm putting myself back together, and that constitutes like the best kind. It's not the best kind of growth. Growth can also happen from love and light, but it is a very familiar form of growth for a lot of us, even if we feel like we've let go of so many layers of the layers of ego confinement. So that said, I'm finding Red Serpent to be about soothing my body, that my spirit kind of went through a journey of, I guess, releasing and recognizing inner vitality that's been buried, and now my body has to catch up. So in the Red Serpent Wave Spell, I've been really tired and felt sick for some of it. Definitely felt sick for a lot of it, like a congestion. The reminder, I guess, since we went through a pandemic around physical vulnerability for the whole species, that, when we have physical malady, it is important to sort of pull away from society and be restful. That's what animals do. And so my Red Serpent time has been focused on being present with my body and enjoying the luxury of my mind, my analytical mind not being as active. Like, why am I so lazy? I should be doing more. This is a waste of time. Other people are doing things, even though it's like this. There's been a lot of rain and cold to grapple with in winter where I am in California, where we are just very vulnerable if it gets cold at all. And so just being the little reptilian, animal who has very simple, basic needs, expectations, curiosities, and survival instincts. And the other thing about the red serpent time is noticing that we're survivors, which is a great word for those of us who've been through trauma, because there is definitely the right and reason to have victim identity. I was hurt or traumatized by something, but often the empowered language about being a victim of something is to say I survived it. And I'm not preaching that we need to change our identification. That's part of the process. But what's nice about red serpent is that we are survivors in this time. Like red serpent and the reptilian instinct is what keeps us safe. And, when we have had trauma in the past, we can live from a really reptilian place in the amygdala and the part of our brain that is very watchful. When they say that people who have been traumatized often need to sit where they can see the door of a room. And that reminds me of how we protect ourselves against any recurrence or future anguish such as we've already suffered, and that instinct allows us also potentially to be safe. And so I think right now in the red serpent time, there is that surfacing strength. Like, what? I've been through hell or shit. I've been through it. I'm a middle-aged woman in the United States of America, and I have been through it. I've sampled all the different ways that we fall prey to those who are crueler and stronger and more malignant. And so here I am. I don't feel that strong right now at all, but I'm noticing in the red serpent time that I can at least identify that, nothing further is happening. The beauty of red serpent is that in this watchfulness, we're bound to be safe. And just think about it like a snake. A snake doesn't have any arms to protect itself. It doesn't have a hard shell like an insect. It just has like that sort of defensive watchfulness and maybe some speed. It can't build a shelter, so it has to hide behind things that are existing. And I just think all the metaphors are there to help us understand where we might feel in this time, feel ourselves to be. Now, the last thing I'll mention is something that I have brought up on my podcast, the Natural Time Podcast, which is 3 days a week and really is supposed to help you be a full-scale handrail to get through life. But red serpent, I think traditionally in my mind from long, long ago, is just a very interesting time to explore sexuality. The sex act, because if we're not in our heads, if we're in our bodies more fully, because we're careful of our bodies and we're also limited in our higher mind, then our bodies are pretty sensitized, and this would be a really good time for you to notice that. It can be in anything you're doing, from eating a meal to dancing to sitting in meditation to walking in nature. Like, it doesn't have to be, nudity and stages of intercourse. But I love just being really upfront about that's like a benefit of the red serpent time and a benefit of not being analytical and overly concerned with big picture views. Being present now is a gift in lots of ways that we fight for, right? On the path toward enlightenment, we fight to be present and here and now. And so there is something beautifully available right now. But I love to just tack on and we need to have sexuality be one of our functions, and red serpent and the reptilian instincts in our body and within our human body are a gift and something that is sort of soaring right now. And the last thing I'll say is that, again, we're at the peak of the wave this weekend. We are almost to the top, which is the height of the red serpent expression and experience. It's happening, imminently. It's happening now. And it would be really great if you could remark on it. Today, Red Solar Skywalker is pushing us toward the sky, and the word solar means that we're interfacing with the sun god, the giver of life, that we've done a whole bunch of emerging over the last 8 days prior to this ninth moment, this ninth day of the 13, to prepare us to have a really honest and enlightened conversation with the sun god. It's like if you're going to meet up with the sun god on the solar day, which is what we're proposing here on a mystical level, you want to be prepared. You don't want to just be haphazard. And we've had the preparation. We've had the time doing the work for the last 8 days, 7 of which were portal days. And we should be able to have an honest conversation with the sun in our minds, in our prayers, in our ruminations right now. And then tomorrow you receive the gift from the sun back to you. Today you ask, wish, aspire, express your desires, needs, hungers. You're like childlike. I wish you would help me with this. And tomorrow it's immediate. Maybe not in the form that we thought we even asked for and articulated, but in some way. And the way it works is today is solar, so we speak the language of the sun, and tomorrow is called planetary, and the sun communicates to us in our language on the planet. So that's the exchange. Like, I aspire to be more like you, and the sun says, thank you. Here on planet Earth, or whichever planet you live on planet Earth, this is what you're going to do, receive, be shown. Today is red solar Skywalker, and tomorrow is white planetary wizard. So it's like, I'm going to walk in the sky to get the prophecy. That's what red Skywalker suggests. And then tomorrow we are going to be white planetary wizard, where we are given shamanic insight. That's what white wizard represents. I'm Lisa Starr. I am another yourself, and in Mayan we say in Lakesh.